What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? This is episode 89 of the Standing A podcast. Man, hey, this is gonna be a good one. Sometimes you get some good guests, and then sometimes you get some really good guests. And today we got a really good guest. So we're gonna get into that. But first, Courtney, Burt Brown Sugar, how you doing, man?
Hey, y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it ain't. It's the one you love to hate and the one you hate to love. Blessed to be back in the house, back in the building, back in space, back in cyberspace with all the boxing heads out there and all the people who've supported this movement. And I'm particularly honored that I can imbue the spirit of the great Montel Jordan and do something for the honeys, boxing style. And on the Standing A podcast, we are a big supporter of the women's game and the women's side of boxing. And we just put on whenever we can and act a fool for the ladies doing their thing in the sport. And I'm just particularly honored I can be on the panel and I can enjoy this and our guest. Thank you for being here, Mike. And let's get to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
man.
guys for inviting me on. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate you guys putting attention on the women's game and on amateur boxing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Hey, Tiffany Daniels, the first lady of boxing. How you doing?
What's up, guys? I'm doing fantastic. And again, thank you for having us on. It's a good. I don't know if I told you guys the last time I was here that I was going to become an official, and I did it finally. So I'm glad I was able to connect with Michael and boxing. So it's a big change for me. I was in the pro for 12 years, and now I'm kind of going backwards. So it's kind of like everything's turned upside down for me. So I'm excited, and I'm just grateful to have you have me on the show. So thank you.
Hey, thank you and congratulations, man. That's some phenomenal news. Love to hear it. Love it, love it, love it. Hey, and like I said, when we have some special guests, we really get them, and we appreciate it. So today we've got senior manager of the USA Boxing National Events and Operations, Mike Campbell. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing fabulous. We just had an outstanding event in Detroit, one of the boxing capitals of the world. And afterwards, popped in the office and now went off the grid, took a little R&R, and I'll be back to it this week, playing in the next one. So, and let me say, congrats, Tiff. That's awesome step. Thank you for doing that. I spend a lot of my time trying to recruit and shore up LBCs and grassroots officiating. I think you're going to find it extremely redeeming, and we can talk about that and maybe recruit a few more while we're at it.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, so you talked about some of the events, and we got a special one. We got a first ever USA Boxing Women's Championship that's going to be held in Toledo, Ohio, in July. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Give us some things about that one.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I'm so excited about this. This is a real special endeavor for me. This is something that's been probably 10 years or more brewing and building. A long time ago, when I first got involved with boxing, I saw that the women's game was more finite. It was smaller, and it needed to grow. Without depth, there was no opponent replacements. There wasn't a top 10. There wasn't rankings. There wasn't opportunities to grow. And it became obvious that the only way we do that is by creating more opportunities to compete, more opportunities in the gym. And we got women in the Olympics in 2012 was a big step. And then the breaking through in a lot of gyms and cultures. If you saw a recent announcement, Cuba just now is announcing that women can compete in amateur boxing in their country. So it's been a long evolution since early 2000s. The first ever Women's World Championships was held in 2001 in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And we're going back, I know it's not quite the same area, but in that same region, part of the country, we're going back to Toledo for the first, what we're calling the USA Boxing Women's Championships. Now, I say this is a long evolution because I came from the Gulf LBC in Houston. That's where I kind of owned and learned the craft and learned about boxing and amateur boxing before I joined the national office. And there, I had a long vision to create what is now called the Texas Women's Championships. And this event is, to me, is kind of building upon that same blueprint. But that was my idea and my vision, and I wanted to make it, but I didn't produce that event on my own. We formed a committee called the Gulf Women of Strength. We got lots of women in Texas involved in that in order to create it, because you can't build something on your own. You have to get buy-in from others and volunteers to create something great and magnificent. And that's the path we're on for this national championship that's happening in Toledo. We've got a steering committee that's forming the outside programming. We've USA Boxing has got the boxing part down. We can create brackets. We can get officials there. We can run matches. But I want this to be something much greater than boxing. And that's the key to this event. We've got our national qualifier, Junior Olympics, national championships. All of those are designed for the main purpose is to identify who's our next Team USA competitor, who's going to come to the Olympic Training Center and be trained and be sent to overseas to wear the red, white, and blue and represent USA and try to capture medals and bring glory back and inspiration for younger boxers. But this event is going to be a little different. This event is about growth of the sport. So number one, it's about opportunities to compete. Okay, women have trouble finding local matches historically. You can have two kids same age, one male and one female, come into the gym at the same time, develop them over a year or two. That boy will have twice, three times as many matches as the girl will. So this is going to be an opportunity to bring lots of girls together in one place and not just box once like they do at a national tournament, where there's only 20% of the membership of the registration is female, and they got to wait all week for their match to turn up, and there's only one in their bracket or two in their bracket, and then they go home. That doesn't. It's not a lot of bang for their buck. This event, everybody's going to box the first day. Matchups, all match bouts, no waiting, no buys, and then we're going to come back with a training session, and then we're going to create brackets, and we'll run normal brackets. We're going to experienced brackets and inexperienced. The old open and novice, but we'll call them inexperienced and experienced because it'll vary by age and weight. And then the ones who lose will come back for more match bouts. My goal is for every boxer to get minimum 2 bouts in this, if not more bouts, plus that training session, plus other programming. We got some special things planned for this event. And I don't know, I'm going off, but we've got some special things planned. And it's because of this steering committee. And most importantly, it's because of 2 factors. The USA Boxing Foundation has given us a grant to do this event. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you to them. And the city of Toledo, the Toledo City Council, has the vision. They see the value of boxing in their community, and they see the value in women's sport. They held the female Ryder Cup, the Sondheim Cup, so in their city, and they invested in it. I saw that, and I said, hey, we can capitalize on that. We can do something similar to that. And their vision to support this is incredible. And it's those things that are coming together that's going to make this event something that transcends a boxing tournament or a boxing show. This is going to be something that every woman who comes there, every female, not just boxer, but also every official and every coach that's going to be there and every supporter and staff member is going to improve during the week. We're going to have programming for them, such as seminars, honoring them at a special event. And then I want to culminate the event at the end with a gala. Why not? Everybody
Nice.
walk the red carpet and get their picture
Yeah.
taken. We could dance up. We could dress up and dance. So all this is still in the tentative, the forming stages. But again, it's all possible because of the outpouring of support from people who are believe in this cause and the ones who are sponsoring it, the city of Toledo and our USA Boxing Foundation. So you guys can tell I'm stoked. I'm so excited because this is a first of its kind. But it's not just about who's going to win and lose. It's not about who's going to get the belt at the end. It's about everybody improving because now we're building that foundation. And then then when they go to the national championships, it's going to be that much better, that much more experience. And and what's it going to all lead to? More gold medals, right? And more inspiration for that next generation. Completing that cycle. That's my goal.
Man, that's so awesome, man. And you kind of touched on something just that I was going to ask about, which was that support and that buy-in that you have, that backing from the city of Toledo and the state of Ohio, period. Where we know boxing has a very strong presence. Just how does that feel, man, when you're looking to do something of this magnitude and you have that type of support that the city of Toledo and the state of Ohio has given you? How does that feel?
Right here. It's right here. It's all love. It's amazing. Um, the press conference we had in Toledo 2 weeks ago, it was surreal for me. It was surreal because it's all inside of me in this vision to suddenly see people share the ideas that you've seeded with them and to share them as something that's going to happen. All I can do is plant seeds. I can't make everything grow. I can't make everything harvest everything. But when do you see others buy into that vision and then carry it on and then take steps that are important to make that progress? Oh, you feel the love. And when they finally called me to the podium after hearing everybody speak, I was overwhelmed. It was the feeling. It felt like home. It felt like family. It felt amazing. And like I said, the city council, when I spoke with them, it's a little different model here. Usually I'll go to a city in like Detroit, and we talked to the Detroit Sports Commission, and they want to bring the Final Four next year, and they wanted the national qualifier on their ledger and their another feather in their cap, and they supported our event. It was great, right? But this was a little different event, different how it evolved. I went to the mayor's office, and I presented to the mayor, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is the vision, this is the event. It's a new one of its kind. And because they had city council members there, Venice Williams is the main one, who came up in a boxing household. And when she got on the city council, she supported the local clubs. She went there and said, what do you need? You have a leaking roof. Let's get someone over here to fix it. Let's find you grant money to travel and compete. Because she could see the difference it was making in the communities, in the youth, in the at-risk youth. The difference it was. Boxing gyms are special. I like to say basketball's great, volleyball's
Yeah.
great. They teach physical fitness, camaraderie, but boxing does something different. It saves lives, and that sounds cliche, but it literally does that. It does the work of the community, of the city councils, of the police department, of the churches. It does God's work. It saves lives. I'm amazed every time I ask a coach. When I first came into the sport, I'd see coaches in the gym every night toiling. Their kids are at home having dinner. On the weekend, they're at shows, spending their own vacation money. They didn't necessarily have return on their investment or national or world champions there putting money back into the gym. And I would ask coaches, why do you do this? Why do you? It's not a winning endeavor financially. And the answer was always the same. They said, Mike, I didn't have a choice. I have to do this. This. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a coach who did this for me. And that's where boxing resides. There's no boxing book. There's no college course on boxing. Boxing resides inside. It's harbored by the trainers of America, of the world, but especially American amateur boxing. It sits inside those coaches. And gyms are their way of growing it, of giving back, of paying it forward, of spreading that knowledge and making that difference in those lives. So then to see a city council that recognized that saw the value in their community and wanted to bring our event there, man, it felt special to just to see this kind of from a small meeting presentation to a press conference to it's going to happen. That schedule I wrote, oh wow, it felt special to really put that together, and then to see the reaction from the coaches and the young women who come to national tournaments to see that, wow, this is something above and beyond. The difference it's going to make in their inspiration and their lives and their careers eventually. To see all that come together and the support of Venice and the city of Toledo, it's quite amazing.
Man, it feels amazing just hearing you talk about it. Just that the passion that you have around it, man. It's so great. Just another question, man. Tell us what brought you down this journey. What brought you down this path.
You know, um, Growing up, I was always into sports. I loved stats. I used to study the batting tables, and then I went to college, and math and physics was my steering, my calling. And I always kind of had that regret. Why didn't I do something in sports? Why wasn't I a statistician or something? And then my career started, and I was working offshore, oil and gas, and I had a little free time, no kids, and so I was looking for a hobby, and I got involved in Houston in the local pro boxing scene. I said, hey, how can I come here and not have to buy a ticket? Or how can I sit up there every show? And I said, it was ironic because at first I was like, I want to be a ref. I was like, oh, that seems like a lot of work, before I can get to that point. And now it's ironic because I'm a level 3 referee on my weekends and my hobby. So I still work as a referee and an RJ all the time. But at that time, I said, I can write, and there's not enough publicity. You don't hear about these club shows in the newspaper or local. And so at that time, a lot of websites were really starting to explode, and I started writing fight reports and covering the local scene and interviewing the boxers. And at the time, I thought it was all about getting more glory for the boxers and the undercard guys and the up and comers, and telling who's going to be the next one, the one to keep your eyes on. But I would show up to the gym on Monday after a big fight on Saturday, and who was there? The trainer was there with the next guy, the next week's fight. And I started realizing, wow, this sport isn't about the boxers, it's about the coaches. The coaches are the ones that need the glory. So then I started to do a lot of video interviews, and that evolved to, I had a magazine for a while. I wrote for a few newspapers. And then I was covering the Houston Golden Gloves. Then one day the Gulf LBC said, hey, Micah, you ever thought about wanting to be on our board of directors or serve? And I said, what do I have to do? I said, oh, just write meeting minutes. I said, okay, I can do that. That's my forte. I can handle that. And I started going to local shows, and I could see the problems that manifest at local shows: lack of volunteers, poor decisions, lack of technology. And so I started getting more involved on that side. I converted them from paper scorecards to using Excel. Try to evolve the pre-matching process, make shows better. And then I decided to start doing my own shows because that was exciting. Because in the amateurs, everybody wants to fight. It's not like the pros where, it's got to be a smart business decision, and you got to come along at the right time, and everybody wants a little more money in their cut. No, amateurs, oh, you got to fight for us? Where's it at? We're going to be there. So it's exciting and easy to make matches, and great to see them evolve and grow. So it kind of grew from there. And then I started working on national tournaments, started volunteering nationally, helping them with their draws and organizing it. And then the oil and gas industry tanked in Houston. It's been greatly reduced. And so I saw an opportunity to change careers. And right around the same time, Mike McAtee was hired to be the executive director of USA Boxing. And I asked him if there's a place for me in there. And he brought me on board. And I'm really proud of the work we've done on the event side, growing the events, evolving them to something much different than they were. And like I kind of expounded on earlier, it's not about just identifying Team USA. It's about creating opportunities and giving the best of the best in the country an opportunity to compete. A lot of these guys are too good that nobody will box them at home. There's no good matchups. And so they only fight at nationals. And when I get after every event, we put out a post-survey coaches a survey for feedback on how we did. And when a coach, say from, you mentioned Ohio, say a coach from Cincinnati, who's got a lot of at-risk youth in his gym, will say to me, thank you, Mike, for doing this, because it continues to give us an outlet and keep the kids interested and in the gym and focused, and then that's keeping them off the streets. That's saving lives. Yeah. That's powerful to me. That makes a big difference, and it's my personal redemption. Everybody comes to this sport for some kind of redeeming value to get back to contribute. And I always thought, I'm just going to use my skill set to help them do what they do. But I've realized more recently that is my redemption. That's given me a cause and a purpose. And if I can help these guys be better at what they do and save lives, then I'm contributing something really great.
Oh man, hey, well, we absolutely appreciate you contributing that, because you're right, man. It can, boxing and those gyms can be a safe haven, for a lot of lives, and change a lot of lives. Not just those that come into it, but just like you said, the coaches. That type of serving that they're doing for many people, it can leave you speechless sometimes.
It does. It's powerful, and it makes a difference in this world. And a lot of the mainstream media is really kind of hard on amateur boxing and USA boxing, and there's a lot of factors there, a lot of stuff that happens internationally that really kind of influences that opinion. But from what I saw when I was in Houston, was a thriving gym scene. There's over 65 clubs currently registered there, and it's great sparring every day. Great cultures all come together, every style in the gyms. people of all nationalities, races. Female boxing thrives in Texas. And when I first went to my first nationals, I think it was in Spokane and then in Memphis, and I saw, holy cow, this is happening all over the country. There's 40 or 50 of these. There's Toledo's, there's Cincinnati's, there's Washington State. You know, that's what was really powerful for me was, wow, these communities exist everywhere. And to me, boxing is thriving in America. In the gym scene, this is where everybody wants to come train because of our diversity in the gyms, because of our depth of trainers and our lineage. And it's healthier than it's ever been. Our membership is higher than it's ever been. We have more event sanctions and more clubs than we've ever had. So amateur boxing in America is truly thriving, and we produce great talent. It's a little bit different boxing economics on the American side versus a Kazakhstan, a Russia, China, right?
Yeah.
Where it's government supported. They have sports ministries, and they develop their boxers. They snatch them up at a young age, and then they develop them till even age 25, 26, given them military jobs and whatnot. And it's a lot different culture in the U.S., where a boxer at 17, 18 has already got eyes on him. Hey, he's going to be a good one. Let's go ahead and develop him over the next 4 or 5 years, get him to 16-0, learn in the gym through sparring and undercards. So it's a lot different culture, and the results are different. But when you look at all of our American champs that came out of USA Boxing that were turning pro at 18, we're as deep and as healthy as we've ever been, and that's my opinion. And we can go more into that, but everybody wants to ask, well, when's that next gold medal? Andre Ward's it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we can talk about international boxing, and our team right now is real healthy. We've got a couple of world champions on our amateur squad. We've got a lot of silver medalists. So it's a real good squad right now, and they just they're in camp right now, getting ready to head to Europe for a couple competitions, and hopefully qualifying quite a few for the Olympic Games here pretty soon.
Outstanding. Hey, I want to turn it over to Tiff. See what Tiff's got on here.
So, Mike, you kind of touched on, like what a lot of people don't understand, because you as well as I know that the officials catch a bad rap, especially the judges and the referees in amateur boxing. So can you tell us a little bit about the pathways? And I'll tell you guys this, like, I'm not certified at level 1 yet. I did the pathways. There's like a whole thing that you have to do, but I have to go to a clinic. I wasn't even, when they told me I could be a ref, I'm like, I'm not reffing nothing. No, I don't want to be a ref. I want to judge.
Slow down. Yeah.
So you got to go through like a clinic to do that. So right now I can do like the glove table, clerking, and I just did a show, man. They made me do the timekeeper. I was so stressed out. My anxiety was through the roof. I mean, I just know you just don't know what you know until you get there. Like, you actually have to pay attention. I can't really watch the fight. I gotta watch the ref. I gotta watch the time. I'm making sure I don't mess up, because it's important. So, but anyways, Mike, can you tell us a little bit about the pathways and the path for officials if somebody wants to become an official?
That's funny. You said that. Yeah, as soon as you ring that bell and you're watching the clock, you realize I'm in control. I'm driving this match, right? So that's how I started. Was when, like I mentioned, when I joined the Gulf LBC, I started to learn. I said, hey, they're shorthanded. Let me read the rule book, understand the scoring criteria. We're all expert judges at home, right? On the weekend, a pay-per-view, we're all scoring fights. But I realized in that time we're using clickers, we're counting punches. I had to learn this. And so I started as a level 1. I took a year and a half or more I took 2 years until I went to a level 2. And then I took another year before I even got in the ring. And it was because I didn't box, and I was concerned about how I moved around in there and looking good. But it took me a long time. So no rush on that, no rush. So what Tiffany's talking about is we have a training system for onboarding new officials. Okay, we have what's called a pathway where it's basically entry level. It's basic rules. If you know boxing and you've read the rule book, you can pass it, and everyone passes it. Okay, it's designed to get you to a certain level of knowledge. At that point, buy your uniform, black pants, white shirt, show up at a show, and now you're sort of an apprentice. They're gonna help put you in non-decision making roles, so you can start to learn what is our process. And the equipment table is the most important job in the whole room, because that's our safety net. That's key to the show running smoothly. That's your inspection, and it's the funnest job too, because Because first of all, think about this. You're getting to see everybody before they win or lose, right? Everybody's in a good mood still, right? You get to see everyone. And usually you're at the back of the room, so nobody's behind you. So you see everything going on. You get to watch every bout. There's no stress. There's no judging. And you get to meet every coach. You get to see every boxer. But what their job there is to inspect the uniform, make sure they have all the implements, their mouthpiece is good, their uniform is good, and then they have the correct gloves and their headgear is good before they go into the ring. The referee is going to double check all those things. But now, oh man, they got the wrong gloves, or hey, this headgear is not certified. Now we've got a delay in the show. Nobody wants that. That's all bad. That's why it's the most important job. So you start off working the equipment table, then it'll evolve. You'll help put together the show, the bout sheet, help clerk the books, assist the doctor, and then move into learn how to timekeep. And like Tiffany said, the timekeeper's relationship with the referee is so important. So now you're learning the roles and responsibilities of the ref. We're onboarding you slowly and gradually. Then you'll shadow judge. You'll be the fourth judge or in a 3-judge show, or the 6th judge in a 5-judge show. And your score doesn't count, but you're going to turn in your scorecard to the supervisor, who will calibrate and talk to you about how you scored that round. What did you see? Maybe you were off on that round, or maybe you already know what you're looking at, right? So then and it's going to vary LBC by LBC on how long you'll apprentice before you'll go live and be a level 1 judge. Before you can become a level 1, you have to attend an in-person clinic. That's a mandatory 4-hour clinic. The clinic is standardized. It comes from the national office, the referee judges committee, and all the clinicians are certified at national tournaments. We do that so that everybody's teaching the same thing. Everybody's on the same page. It's not just a shuck and jive. Hey, let's eat some donuts and okay, you're level 1 official. No, this is a true training. Let's go through what are the responsibilities of each position, what are the typical commands, fouls, etc. And so all this is designed so we have competent officials, so we can have good decisions at the local level, who will then work at regionals and then eventually come to national. Now, I mentioned earlier, Excel, we have what's called electronic supervisors report, which is, they're still using paper at most pro commissions and still tallying the scorecards. And here it's putting every judge's name in there, the bout sheet is in there, and then there's another tab on that Excel that rates the judges. It shows how consistent they are with the majority. Are they out on a round or out on a decision? Were they the split? And over time and enough data, you can start to evaluate who are your consistent judges. Now we use this at nationals, and at nationals, we have 30 bouts per ring, 4 rings, 2 sessions a day. So there's a lot of data, and plus there's 5 judges on every bout. So it's a little bit more accurate than using it at a local level. But we can use this to now see who our best judges are after a day or after 2 days, and after a couple sessions, maybe someone's just off. Maybe we reduce the number of bouts they have so that they can work their way back in, maybe make up for it, or maybe reassign them to another position. And then the judges who do well, we give them more bouts. And then by the 3rd day, the ones who are below a certain percentage, start cutting them. Sorry, this isn't your tournament. We can't have you keep working. The best boxers are advancing, right? The best coaches are advancing. The ones who lose go home, don't get to work more bouts. It's the same philosophy with the officials.
Makes sense.
And then by the finals, we only use the 90, 95 percenters. And so it's a harsh reality. And I mean, you're as a judge, you're still being judged. And then we base invitations on who we invite back for the national championships, who works the highest level. You're going to always want to replenish and have a certain bring new ones in to learn more about judges and create a bigger pool, and then train them and send them home with those skills as well. So there's always a cycle there, and there's always a place for everyone. But we operate on that philosophy. The best boxers advance. We want the best judges judging them in the finals. We can't afford to have split decisions go the wrong way. It's crucial, the best boxers. In a tournament, we had 630 bouts in that last tournament. We've had tournaments with nearly 1,000 matches. And so you can imagine statistically, and they can't get a 9-bout or 6-bout pro card all right, You can imagine with 1,000 boxers, you're going to have a few splits that probably lean the wrong way. And you can only really fix that, I say it, by recruiting, training, evaluating, and then inviting back the best ones. And it's got to be a continuous cycle, right? Once the judge's decision's rendered, that's a decision. That's their opinions. That's what we train them to do. That's what they get us. We don't reverse decisions. We could watch it with you and say, hey, we think it was probably, it could have been the other way. but there's no reversing decisions. The way we fix and make the best decisions is by those things: recruiting, training, evaluating, and then cutting, and then inviting the best ones back. So I share all that because I think it's very important. But tell me anyone who does it. There's no commission. Commissions are like on tenure, just like university, right? Hey, I know this guy and he's done 50 championship bouts and he's our best judge. Well, he screwed up and had a bad week, right? Guess what? He's working next week,
Mm-hmm.
right? So no commission does this. I should say, they all do it to a degree. And even our international federation, they have an evaluation system, but it's not the same. And there's lots of corruption as well in that whole system. But I like to think that we have the best system in the world, and I like to think that we have the best judges working the finals and working at national tournaments. The best judges in the world, in my opinion. Tiff, did I cover everything about recruitment?
Yeah, that was great because you never really hear that, and I didn't even know that even as an official, like the scoring of the judging and things like that. And it's so funny because I was telling Mike offline that they sent me a simulator to be a judge, so you watch these fights and you have to judge, and then you go back and then you go see your scores, and my shit is way off. I score like a Lomachenko fight. He was in the amateurs. Man, it was way off. And I'm like, what? Like, how? Like, I don't understand. So, like, it's good that, like, they allow us to get that education and keep trying and
Mm-hmm.
better at those type of things because it can make a difference. Even when you're a judge at a fight, a lot of people see it on TV. But when you're a judge, it's depending on where you are in a ringside, you might not see certain things. Your observations might be different from judge number 2. The ref might be in the way. It's so many things that come along with that. So it's good that Mike brought that up because I think a lot of people think like the judge is just like throw the fights away, don't pay attention, out drinking, So,
we have that training platform. That's something brand new we did about a year ago, and it was in conjunction with the Ontario Boxing Amateur Boxing Association. They developed it, and what it is we can upload bouts to it, and then a supervisor will watch the bout. And then they'll trim it where the first bell is, where the bell is for the round, and it prompts the viewer to then score it at the end of the round, and then it goes right into the beginning of the next round. And the supervisor will put in what the scores, what they what their opinion of the scores are, and then those people who judge it are then compared to the supervisor's scores. And we can put in what the scores were from that bout, from the actual one, or we can have we usually have one of our top officials will enter those. But it's a good training tool. I mean, who doesn't want to watch bouts and score and get instant feedback on how you're scoring them? And we have a lot of good data. We have a lot of good bouts in our repertoire to use for that. So that's a great training tool. But it's just one of many. We mentioned about the clinics and the pathway. We also do level 2 testing at regional competitions, and then level 3 elevation at nationals. And now we've done level 3 rankings where you go to nationals and you're evaluated through the Excel spreadsheet and what your scores are, but then you also take a 100-question test on the rules, and it's pretty tough. And then even the level 3 exam is pretty tough. Though when I took mine, 7 people took it and only 1 passed. So it's funny because when I first got involved and I hear stories about the past, it was a party. It was a social occasion. People had bars in their rooms and they were out all night, and there was videos on social media. Now I get back late, after getting the bout sheets, and I see all the RJs in the lounge with a sample test, studying and doing study groups, getting ready for that exam, because there's incentive now for them to for their own path and their own advancement and investing in their own selves and their knowledge. It's a difference in culture that's happened, and they take it a lot more serious. It's quite amazing. So I'm glad you started it. And
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I know there was like talks of boxing no longer being in the Olympics. Is that still a big deal, or have we crossed that path and we're back in it?
So I think we're coming up on, if you've been following the news, I think we're coming up on some key milestones that are going to happen pretty quickly in the next few months. That's going to answer those questions. But no, it's dire. Let's call it what it is. It's a bad situation. I'd like to wax poetic about how good things are, But then I'll look at some things and go, wow, I don't know if it's ever been this bad. For boxing to be on the verge of being cut, not just from Los Angeles, which we're not on the program. We're not on the program yet for 2030, sorry, 2028, Los Angeles. Not only that, IOC has threatened, hey, maybe we won't even do boxing in Paris in 2024. I mean, that's pretty serious. And this has all evolved because of problems with our international federation. They've been in a couple of areas of sponsorship, governance, and then probably the most important thing to us is RJ decision and RJ management. Boxing is a subjective sport, like we've been talking about. It's not like basketball. When a ball goes through the hoop, you register points. No, it's not clear like that. Boxing, to score points, has to be the opinion of the evaluator, the person who's watching. It's a very subjective sport, and all you can do is put skilled people who know what they're looking at in those positions. But when you corrupt the system, and the recent McLaurin report that IBA commissioned, or IABA at the time commissioned, has shown that there was corruption in Rio in the Olympics. There was tainting of the officials' pool. And it even says that this was widespread in other international competitions and championships. Well, when you don't have fair rendering of decisions, then what's the point of the sport? What's the point of going to those competitions? And that was a decision we just made at the Women's World Championships and the upcoming Men's World Championships. So we're not going to be a part of this. USA Boxing is not going to continue to send our athletes to be screwed by a corrupt system. And so we're breaking away and creating our own system, and many countries are on board with doing this with us. So it is a dire situation. In Tokyo, our international federation did not run the boxing. They didn't run the qualification nor the actual competition. The IOC did it, and this is where we're headed to for Paris. Is the IOC is going to create a task force, a working group that will oversee the qualification tournaments to decide who's going to compete in Paris, and then the actual boxing tournament in Paris. But all these other problems are still looming over our heads. We still need an international federation to govern and to train officials and to invest in grassroots and all the other things international federations serve to do. And they're not happy. And it's the situation, despite repeated warnings, has actually gotten worse. And it's really culminated the last few months. They're locking heads with one another. It doesn't help that the president of IBA is Russian and is doing the calling of the Russian government, who is currently invading Ukraine. Ukraine boxers and coaches are dying in the war. And then this is causing even more tension in the European community, especially with a lot of federations that are adamant about not letting Russian athletes compete under their flag. So that's also a big part of this equation. But for me, I mean, you look back at how many we talked about Andre Ward being the last gold medalist, but look at how many great boxers have come through that maybe lost in preliminaries, and it's cost them. Maybe some of them became world champions, but many of them didn't, and maybe some of them it cost them millions of dollars in purses and signing. Errol Spence lost in the preliminaries, and now he's in my opinion, I'm from Texas, he's the greatest fighter in the world, right? We'll slow down on that, but he's someone that got screwed out of medal. Charles Conwell, if you look at his amateur bout in the Olympics, he clearly won that bout, screwed on the decision. But you hear about the Michael Conlon decision, right? That everybody hears, that everybody talks about. Another one is Gary Antoine Russell. He's a phenom. He was dominant in that bout, screwed over. Nobody's talking about that. But now we've got the McLaurin report that verifies it was corrupt. They were loading the pool. They were cheating. This is a lost generation of American amateurs that should be medalists. So USA Boxing ultimately we're judged by how many medals. The last Olympics we got 4 silver. How come you didn't get any gold? And rightfully so. That's our objective, is to inspire Americans through Olympic greatness and great performances and gold medals. That's our job. But when you don't have a fair level playing field, when you have corruption in your RJ pool, Why? Why would we continue to invest and compete in that? So, kudos to USA Boxing and Mike McAtee. We're leading the world and we're going in another direction, and we're going to right this ship. So, Tiff, the answer is we're going to be in Paris, and we're going to be in Los Angeles, and we're going to be dominant, and it's going to be fair decisions, and we're going to work with the countries that want fair, level playing field, not bought medals, not corruption, not, I don't want to get too political, but and yeah, boxing will thrive, but it's going to be a rough road. It's not going to happen in a couple of months. It's going to take 10 years or more before we're done with this. Um, but it's necessary after all these previous Olympics, World Championships, Junior World Championships, Youth World Championships that I'm going to still call them the lost generation. They took away all Lance Armstrong's victories and gave them to the next guy, right? They didn't do that for any of these cheaters that they verified that it's not the athlete's fault. It was the corrupt RJ and their international federations that supported the corruption that caused that.
Awesome. So, what other events should we be looking forward to besides the women's event that we have in July? I know we have a ton all over, and in local boxing gyms, but what's the biggest tournaments that we have coming up for USA Boxing?
So recently we had a elite high performance camp in which our high performance team was in the camp, and they brought our national champions from last December's national championships in to challenge them. They go through an evaluation system, and then at the end of that camp, they named our high performance team for this year. That high performance team is in camp right now. The other boxers are being brought in as training partners, and then they're supplementing with other weights and 3s and 4s and others to become training partners. Even a few alumni of the program are also in that camp. The reason I say that is because that group, that high performance team, is going to go to the Pan Am Games this year in 2023. I believe it's in October, November. And that Pan Am Games has been identified as the first step in the qualification system for the Paris Olympics. So they will get a shot at qualifying for Paris. So that November tournament is huge. It's very important. It's essentially a continental championships. USA, we always do well in the continentals and in the Pan Ams, because really our rivals are Cuba, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, and Canada to an extent, and then the occasional Colombian and a few other countries will produce some good boxers. But we just need to finish in the top 2 to qualify. So we anticipate qualifying quite a few boxers in that championships for the 2024 Olympics in Paris. So that's a really important event on the calendar this year. On the pathway to that, they're going to have a series of competitions in multi-nation camps on the way there. Now let's go back domestically. We just had the national qualifier in Detroit. It was great to be there. It was great to box in front of the statue of Joe Louis. I visited Kronk Gym while I was there. It was quite an experience. We also, during that tournament, we invited 4 Irish officials and 4 German officials, 2 of which had worked the last Olympic Games. So we did that to have more international officials in the pool, because when we go overseas, we're being evaluated by international officials, not American officials. And so we wanted to keep that into our training pool, and they were top level officials. So we want to bring that for quality of decisions. We've had an exchange program for many years, so that was part of what we did in Detroit, and part of what I talked about a little bit earlier about improving RJ and internationally. So that was the national qualifier in Detroit. It decided 2 more elite boxers that will qualify for the upcoming Olympic trials in December. We have 2 more events: the Summer Festival, which will qualify 2 more elite boxers, and then the Last Chance qualifier in Colorado. The Last Chance will be in Colorado in September, and the Summer Festival will be in Lubbock in early June. So those will help identify who's going to compete in the Olympic trials in this coming December. There'll also be a wild card process for boxers that didn't make the top 2 to apply and fill out the brackets in that tournament. So we'll have our Olympic trials in December, and it will decide the same process. The winners there will come to camp in next January, for another evaluation camp where they'll be evaluated alongside that high performance team that's currently slated this year to be competing internationally. So that's the process there. Boxers box in our national tournaments to then qualify for the national championships, then get invited to camp, in an opportunity to get that high performance team spot and be that number one and represent Team USA for the whole next calendar year. So it's a continuous process. It's not just an Olympics every 4 years and we decide who the team is. It's we invest in our boxers in junior level. There's an open training camp it's been in Chula Vista the last year and again this year in the San Diego area. And then we also have youth camps and youth competitions. So that way we can keep developing boxers on their way to that elite division where it's not just an Olympic year. There's competitions every year, whether it's a Worlds or Continentals, other kinds of competitions as well. So it's a continuous process of boxers at Olympic Training Center. So, and then nationally, we've got the Summer Festival in June. It's going to be held in conjunction with the Junior Olympics, which is my favorite event. That's honors the junior, the intermediates, and the bantams boxers. We have a little more pomp and circumstance there. We give award bronze medals. We have a parade of the athletes. We have podiums and award ceremonies and medaling ceremonies there. We want that to be more Olympics. And we're going back to Lubbock. We were in Wichita last year, and those have been great Midwest locations because usually everybody drives to that tournament. Then the women's event at the end of July, last chance in September, and then we'll be back. We'll be headed for Olympic trials, which will be in Lafayette, Louisiana. And again, I'm from Texas, so I'm biased. Best food in the country down there in Lafayette and in that area, Cajun Creole. But that's going to be a special event. It's going to be at the Cajun Dome, which is a large venue. I'm excited about being in a stadium like that. It'll be 4 rings. We'll hold the Olympic trials along with the national championships in conjunction.
That's in December.
Yeah, that'll be first week of December.
Wow. And I would like to say Ohio does run boxing, just so y'all know.
That's right.
One of the most winningest coach in all of USA boxing, Kevin Benford, Real Deal Boxing. I got to shout him out. Of course, I love Cincinnati Golden Gloves, but Kevin Benford's team, I promise I would say something about their gym. They got some dogs out there. I'm just going to let you know that. But Kevin Benford.
They dominate.
Yeah, they dominate.
Kevin and Real Deal dominates at nationals. And, it's not just one boxer. They all, and I think it's to the point, it's kind of like that Kronk jersey. When you saw that Kronk jersey, it's almost like, oh, we got a Real Deal guy, But he just reloads, and he's one of those guys that, what he's doing for those kids and is amazing. And he's just producing champions. And what you said about Ohio runs boxing, it's true. Texas is the dominant force because of their numbers and their population and their diversity. But pound for pound, Ohio has the most championships. And I think there's been an Ohio boxer on every Olympic team for the past, I think, 6 teams, something like that. Something astounding.
Yeah, Kevin Benford, they don't get a lot of support. So I wish, that the community would step up a lot more. Cincinnati Golden Gloves, they're backed by Buddy La Rosa. If you guys don't know, if you ever had La Rosa's Pizza, that's what we have here. It's a big stable. And Cincinnati Golden Gloves been around for 60, 70 years, okay? So they got big backing. But Real Deal Boxing, these people are getting out the mud. Like, they don't get a lot of community support. So, and their boxers are coming to win every single time. So shout out to Real Deal, Kevin Benford. I hope you guys get the support that you need. Courtney, do you have anything you want to ask?
Yeah, we know Courtney International. You got to get in there.
Hey, you know, I got stuff to ask.
Let's go.
Stuff to ask. I got shit to say. First, in light of that incendiary comment about Spence, I do want to say this: the greatest boxer of this generation in this era was cheated in an international Olympic competition, and that was Floyd Mayweather. The guy who beat him is living in a housing project in Bulgaria right now. But still we rise. USA all the way.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. And if you read the Wikipedia about that match, I found something really inspirational, and it ties into what we said about RJ management. The American official was so angry at that decision, he stood up from his chair, he walked out, and he's never been to a boxing event since. He was so disgusted.
In South Dakota, yeah. I saw.
And I asked the president of South Dakota. I said, "Hey, can we find this guy?" He goes, "No." He goes, "He won't come around." He was that disgusted by that decision.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have a two-pronged question. So the first part of it is, me being a boxing head, being one of those, one of those rare one percenters, one of those super fans. What really drew me to women's boxing is I'm just greedy. So like, when the ladies compete, for me, it was just like, yeah, more boxing,
Yep.
and with me being greedy, when when the women's side kicked off in the 2012 Olympics in London, I was elated, because more boxing, but at the same time, me being greedy, I was pissed off because there was only three divisions.
Yeah.
You know, so with this upcoming event in Toledo, I want to ask, how many divisions are there going to be for the ladies to compete in?
All of them, every single one. We're going to have age groups from 8 to
Tiger Woods
masters.
fist pump.
We're going to have the masters division too. And look, I've got no limit on weight classes. I'll create a weight class if there's a boxer to enter there. We have even 40 pounds at the Pee-wees. If there's a boxer at that weight, and we'll let you sign up. Now, some of the fringe weights, it's difficult to find competitors. So, that's why there's a lot of weight changes and matched bouts. So to build upon that, so they did 3 weight classes again in the last Olympics. But in this upcoming Olympics now, it'll be 7 men's and 6 women. They had to reduce the men's weight classes because you only have so many beds, you only have so many berths and medals, right? And these are planned out, 15, 20 plus years in advance. So, but our goal with this new organization is 8-8 in 28. And really, I've been telling McAtee, we need to do 10-10, get back to that and just have more qualifiers. But I want all 10 weight classes to be in there. But it'll be 7 men's and 6 women's in Paris, and then hopefully keep increasing after that.
Good
But
stuff.
and in Toledo, it won't just be just the open boxers. We're going to welcome debuts, novices, and every masters boxer as well.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right. So the second part of my question is, now you went through. Tiffany asked you about the upcoming events, and that's a bevy of events you guys got going. And I mean, I'm all for it because, like I said, more boxing. And I'm sure these amateurs are all for that too. As far as more opportunities to compete and get out there and mix and match with the best in the country. But we're looking at the gym scenes in America. A lot of kids coming up through the amateur system, and and coming up on the fringes of the USA boxing program are coming from impoverished and inner city programs and gyms, and with that many events and that many opportunities, I would assume that can be very cost prohibitive for a lot of young fighters, and a lot of whom are coming from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds. We had one of our guests on previously, Eddie Sanchez. One of our first episodes, I asked him about, he turned pro, I was asking him, about with the the Olympics and the Olympic opportunities opening up for guys who are kind of young into their pro careers, asking him if that would be something he would be interested in. And he said, the thing is, I went ahead and turned pro because I just didn't have money to go to all those tournaments. So I guess what I wanted to ask is, what on the financial side, what's USA Boxing doing to help out these young boxers, who are financially strapped and challenged to be able to get out to some of these tournaments and compete and to show their wares?
Awesome, very astute observation, and yeah, it is constantly in my awareness and decision making. And we've kind of touched on a lot of these points already when we're talking about the cost of keeping a program going in your community and getting community support, and the economics of boxers turning pro at young age. So, a lot of managers will already be investing in the top level of boxers at 16, 17 years old, helping them get to these tournaments so they can keep building their resumes. Not necessarily under contract, it's more of a sponsorship at that point. So that's kind of a part of what gets those top levels. But you're right. How do you get your JOs? Kevin's team are mostly all 12, 13, 14-year-olds. How do they get there? And they're out hustling. It's kind of what I talked about. Why do you invest in your time every night in the gym? they're out looking for sponsors and looking for supporters. And whenever someone asks me, how do I support USA Boxing? I say, don't support USA Boxing. Find your local gym in your community, because that's more at home. Now you're putting money into your community and investing in your neighborhoods. So whenever we do site selection on a city, we're always taking into account a couple of factors. How much is it going to cost the members of USA Boxing to put on the tournament? These aren't profitable events. We usually invest over $100,000 into an event, in terms of bringing in the RJs, feeding everybody, travel, giveaways, rent, all the labor, and all those things. And so we need to account for how much it's going to cost the members, and then also what does it cost our members to go and compete in this. So, for instance, we just went to Detroit, and again, going back to the post survey, a lot of people will feedback, hey, how come we picked this city? How come we're in Lubbock, or we've been in Shreveport? There's nothing to do here, and a lot of these clubs, a lot of these parents are spending their vacation time from work, their vacation funds to go to these tournaments. We want something for them to do as well, low cost, But so then we go to somewhere like Detroit or Cleveland we were in last year. And what's the complaint? It's hotels cost more, or parking was at a premium. And so it's a constant balance that I'm always looking at. That's why Lubbock and Wichita have presented really good options for us. Cities that we are the biggest thing in town, and there's free parking at the venue. Agent Dome, it's all free parking. So these are kind of the factors that I'm always in my consciousness when we're selecting tournaments to go there. And then with these tournaments on top of each other, the female tournament and then the JOs, I've been asking females, I said, please, if you have to select between them, please pick the women's event. And a lot of people called me before Detroit and they said, Mike, do I need to be there? Do we need to compete in this tournament? It's tough for us. It's a tough time of year. It's tough weather, travel. Hotels are much more expensive near in there. And then also it's in the middle of Golden Glove season. And I told him, I said, if it comes down to a decision, you wait till the summer. You go to the Lubbock because it's going to be much more inexpensive hotels and things like that. So those are ways. Other ways that we've done it is we created the foundation gave us a grant to create a gym grant program 2 years ago. We gave grants to 30 gyms. We paid for their membership. We gave them a sanction so they could hold an event. We gave them some equipment. And there's a package, and then that was expanded to about 200 gyms that got that in 2022, and so we'll do that annually. But no, and mostly it's going to be finding community support. It is expensive to travel to national tournaments. Boxers last few years as an amateur are much more expensive than it is to be a local pro and to even hustling and selling tickets. So that's why a lot of them will turn pro at a young age, at 18 years old, 19 years old, to take that next step and to start creating their franchise or their business. So those are the programs out there.
Thank you so much for answering that question, and thank you so much again for being on the show, and just thank you for what you're doing in support of local boxing and local gyms. And you said it earlier, these coaches, we hammer home on this podcast and this podcast movement, gloves up, guns down, and boxing just saving lives and being that positive outlet, particularly in our inner cities. And we love you for that, man, and we love USA Boxing for doing that. And as far as the talk about boxing being in decline in America and the amateur system, and from what I see and the evidence and the writing on the wall and the proof being in the pudding, is that USA Boxing going all in on the for the ladies and in the women's side, that's elevating the game of boxing for overall for everybody. And and I've always said that is when you advocate for a more marginalized section of something, it always improves the overall for everybody else. And I think USA Boxing has really hit the mark on its major investment in women's boxing, and pretty much leading the world in doing so. Because as you said, Cuba, which has been long against women's boxing, is now looking to particularly what USA Boxing is doing, and what and what they're doing in Western and Eastern Europe, and saying, hey, we need to get some skin in the game. So I mean, this, that's those small steps just rippling throughout the nation and throughout the international boxing scene. That's been huge, man. So, hey, thank you, and hey, we love it. We want to see we just want to see it grow even more and see how far it goes.
Thanks, Cord. I appreciate that. That drives home. I appreciate those words.
Hey, so question just about women's boxing overall, professional. We'll talk a little bit professional. Um, with the rules and regulations that are in place right now, are you satisfied with those, or would you like to see some different ideas or rules, regulations, so on and so forth, be implemented?
So
I knew that was coming.
obviously, women have to box 3 minute rounds.
Yeah,
A 2 minute round, it changes the fight.
yeah,
And how many, the Katie Taylor and Soriano fight, right? At the end, we were thirsting for more. Wait a
yeah.
second, it's over. Wait, we're just getting going. It was only 20 minutes. It's not fair. It's not
And
fair.
they, and they
Um,
and they actually wanted to do three. I think Serrano
yeah.
was pushing for it to be a 3 minute round in that
So,
one.
so yeah, and we've been doing 3 minute rounds for years now, and women, and everybody's just three threes.
Yeah,
And recently, we changed in USA Boxing. The Bantams and the Peewees were boxing 3 1 minute rounds, and it's hard to judge a 1 minute round, especially when
yeah,
there's no power behind the punches. And so
yeah.
we've increased that to minute and a half, and intermediates are doing 2 minutes. The more time you can allow them to display, they work hard all week. They and what women are training alongside men in the gym. That gym timer isn't set for 2 minutes, right? It's still going off at 3 minutes. They may change it for their sparring, but no, everyone trains 3 minutes in the gym, and then we want them to do a minute at the local show. No, heck no, 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 no. So that's the main thing that needs to change. But no, I've been as an observer, I've been excited about the progression of Taylor Serrano, Clarissa Shields, women becoming main events, all women's cards, and the rivalries that are popping up now. Baumgartner and Michaela and Meyer, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, that's what's needed to grow the sport. Um, Early on, I helped a few Houston female professionals, and it's hard to find an opponent. And then if the opponent drops out, what do you got? You got to cancel bout because there was no depth. There was no, and so now we're starting to achieve that. Gyms are filled even in Mexico. Local shows in the amateurs are almost 50-50 female bouts and male bouts. I'll get a lot of border town boxers in USA Boxing asking me, "Hey, can I go to Mexico fight?" I'm like, "Heck yeah! If there's a bout, go there. If there's an opportunity." So the timing that needs to change. That needs to change in every commission, because what is it saying? Oh, you little lady, you can't box as long as men. That doesn't make sense, right? And then it's the same thing when IBA took the headgear off of men and the women had to leave it on. Well, but what then? Because their brains are different? No, it didn't make any sense. What message is it sending? Now I'm an advocate for all amateurs should have headgear on, so let's keep it on.
Right.
But it was the wrong message that was being sent, creating that disproportionate. And then of course the pay. If women are headlining cards,
Yeah.
then they're gonna get paid accordingly. But they got to create those opportunities. So you guys have probably talked about them quite a bit, but kudos to the guys who've created those promotions, the Paul brothers, and created opportunities and growth. You got to give them kudos. Growth, women's professional boxing. So I've been really pleased to see that evolution and more opportunities. I come from that era with Ann Wolf and Lucia Riker, who were,
Yeah.
were were super skilled and nobody knows about because they couldn't get on television. We're watching them on YouTube only. So it's been wonderful to see that evolution and growth in the pro ranks. So if we can create more and send more on and create more medalists, then we're doing our part to continue that growth. But yeah, let's start petitioning those state commissions.
Hey, let's do it. Let's get that 3 minute in. Courtney, you had a follow up?
Yeah, I definitely want to do a redirect on that. Hey, I'm all for the 3 minute rounds. I'm all for the going to full 12 round fights in championship fights for the ladies. But I want to put this. I want to put this statement on wax, and I'm dedicating this to my man Jay Molyneux out there. Yeah, hey, it's like Clarissa Shields said, alumnus to the Standing 8 podcast. But if women are going to go 3 rounds, they need to get paid. They need to get paid accordingly for such, So that's my statement. That's my credo on that. Shout out to Jay Molyneux. Me and him are always on it as far as the shift in the equality of the pay scales. But yeah, definitely. I think everybody. I think 90% of the women in the game would like to go the full 3 rounds. But definitely, if there's going to be 3-minute rounds, if there's going to go 12 full rounds, I think they definitely need to get paid more, and those purses need to go up.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing some phenomenal things, coming with women's boxing nowadays. Like, I mean, selling out Madison Square Garden, like, the
O2
massive.
Arena.
Yeah, yeah, like it's been insane. Like, just the all female event that we had overseas. Just like there's some historic shit that's going on right now, and it just feels great. It's phenomenal to see. And we continue to see a lot of those that came up through the Olympics, like you said, Mayer. As far as Shields, so on and so forth, the names are out there, and they're still putting in that hard work and making it happen, and entertaining the fans, and being truly dedicated to the sport. And so I'm on board with the 3-minute rounds as well, and the pay. Even if the rounds don't go 3 minutes, we need to do something to up that pay, and make sure that it is proportionate, the way it needs to be. So, yeah, Tiff, Courtney, y'all got any other questions? Anything you want to know? Talk to Mike about?
I think I got all my questions answered. I have to talk to him outside of this about my own personal stuff.
about that officiating.
Right.
Tiff, that's going to be an interesting journey for you, and please keep it feeding back to your listeners, because I always say, what we talked about where boxing lives. It lives inside of the participants, and those boxers who now have come to the end of their careers, they need an outlet for that, and some of them become coaches, but coaching is a big commitment, and some of them can't become coaches. But the ones that don't have the time commitment to become coaches, I ask them to think about becoming officials. The best official is the one who's been in the ring, who recognizes what that boxer's trying to do, what those little bumps are trying to achieve, what he's trying to set up, what traps he's setting. And the way you recruit these ex-boxers is look, have you ever been on the wrong side of a split decision? Of course they have. So now you can contribute to being on the right side of those split decisions. Every time I judge a bout and I'm on the 3 of a 3-2, hey, then my time was worth it. That whatever investment I've put into myself for training to judge that bout was worth it. Everybody can get a 5-0 right. Everybody can get a 3-0 decision right. Those are easy, but it's those split decisions that you're on the right side of that you're making a difference as a judge. So ex-boxers out there, hey, it's not. We have a pathway set up for you. All you got to do is come. All I ask is 2 Saturdays a month, and it's fun. You get the best seat in the house. We'll give you, it's volunteer work. We'll give you a bottle of water, maybe a hot dog, right? But you get to contribute to seeing the right decisions and kids' dreams not being destroyed by a poor decision or discouragement, and you get to contribute to the betterment of the sport and keep giving back. It's another way. So and we're short, I don't think that bad decisions are the result of corruption or lack of training as much as they are of fatigue. And, a lot of these amateur shows are 30 bouts and we've only got 5 judges showed up. You don't get much time off. Can you imagine judging for 2 or 3 hours straight without a break? Of course you're going to get some wrong. Of course your attention is going to lapse a bit. But if we have the depth and we can rotate, and you do a bout or 2 bouts and you take a bout off and rotate into the clerk and the glove table, now you can stay fresh, and that prevents bad decisions. And you only do that with depth of the program of the recruiting. So ex-boxers out there, you don't have time to coach. I understand, but hey, figure out a way to contribute and keep giving back.
Hey, Mike, I wanted to do a redirect on one of the statements you made when you were talking. You know, you said you feel good to be on the right side of a 3-2. Have you ever found do you ever find yourself on the wrong side of a 2-3? And you know you're standing on that though. You're still able to stand on that even though the majority went the other way.
One of my faults is sometimes I show initial expression or emotion, and I do it when I'm refereeing. I see pictures of myself in there just pissed off at two guys holding too much. Will you quit holding? You know, and if I hear a split and I'm like, "Ooh, that was wrong," I have trouble standing up. I might take a second, take a deep breath, because you don't want to show up your other judges and you don't want to create a scene. But hey, we got to talk about that. What did you see? What did you see? And maybe I was wrong. Maybe you saw something I didn't see. Like Tiffany said, maybe it looked different on your side of the ring. Maybe us over here on the blue side, we saw it one way, and on the red side, they scored it the other way. But no, I've had plenty of those where I was a 2-3. Golden Gloves last year, I got up after being a 2-3. I went over to the supervisor and I said, what, maybe I need to sit down. And he said, no, let me show you. And he showed me the scores, and he went back to those percentages, and he goes, the threes are all 80 percenters. The twos were 90 percenters. And I was like, oh, okay, that made me feel good to go back in there. Of course, I was still pissed off that we got about wrong. You never want to get that. But then the next one I sat down, and, you know, maybe it would affect your mindset a little bit, and you would think a little bit different. But I stuck with it, you know, and I stuck it, and I was a 2-3 again. And I went over to Sean, and he showed me the same thing. And I said, okay, well, you know, I know I'm doing the right thing, so I'm going to keep on my path. But that's exactly what you just described. You know, and, you know, there's close fights. There's going to be close fights. And that's what we want, right? We want all close fights. We want the finals of our national tournament to be all split decisions. We want to be that close that they could have gone either way. But you want to get them right. And that's where it takes the difference between a new judge or a hobby judge or a judge that's a little bit less consistent versus the best judges working the finals. And that's where you want to get them right. And that's by recruitment, is what we're doing right now, right? Recruitment, training, evaluating, and then inviting the best ones back.
Man, yeah, no, that's awesome. And yeah, you get more people in there, and like you said, man, when you're on that other side, you see how it is. And
Yeah.
Tiff, she's experiencing that, and it's gonna be a great journey there. It's stressful, but it's gonna be all worth it. I know that.
The timekeeper is very stressful. Okay.
You're right, because you're holding the clock up, and you're watching the fight, and then it's good action, and you're like, oh, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then what I didn't realize is like I have this timer on my phone, and I was doing a timer, and then like as soon as the round is up, it automatically starts, like you ring the bell, and I'm sitting here waiting for like the judge to like signal the ref to signal me, but it's like, no, start the time, let's go.
Right, right.
It's a lot.
You know,
it's a lot. It's
guys,
fun. It's fun.
Guys, I know we're starting to wrap up, but I just want to add that, you know, all of our national tournaments are free live stream. We have Parkway Productions there to do live stream, one camera on each ring, and then David Austin will commentate on the multi-screen for the last few days of the competition. And we do that because it's mom and dad and grandma who sponsored and supported this boxer to go there and their coach to go there, but then sacrificed their own trip. So we want them to be able to watch. But I implore all you boxing fans, if you're a pro boxing fan and you're a purist, you love the skill set, this is the best boxing to watch. For instance, there in Detroit, in the finals, the youth male, these are the 17, 18-year-olds, and a lot of them are still 16, moving up into that 17-year-old division this year. The 132-pound finals, which is one of our key weights in America, right, was Kermel Moten, which you guys have already all heard about. He's part of the money team. He trains in Las Vegas. He hadn't lost in 5 years. He wins everything. He just came through our youth high performance camp as our number one. And he was boxing Zakeen Moses, who from Houston, who came into that tournament with only 17 bouts. I think he's got 20 now or 21 now. He's a Moses. He's related to Shakur Stevenson family and his uncle, his grandfather, Willie Moses. And he came into that tournament, no fear, went through that bracket, and it was a heck of a fight. And it's out there on YouTube. It's still archived, but but that live was thrilling to watch. And so I think any boxing purist out there, if you enjoy skill set and just pure boxing, it's 3 rounds. It's a sprint. A pro fight's a marathon. There's feeling out. You could skip the first round in most pro fights, right? They're just looking for a jab and studying openings. Pro fight, no, we teach it a punch every 3 seconds is the pace you should keep up. So, and they're warmed up. They're 50-50 matchups. It's red and blue. They both want to fight. They both want to win. And that was a 3-2 split. And I think it was a 3-2 split on the right side. So, yeah, go out and look for that bout. And that's the kind of quality that we have in our live stream in our tournaments. So keep an eye on that. I implore you guys to check us out. I think it's the best boxing in America.
Hey, we will definitely have to check that out. Tiff, did you have something?
No, my screen is acting crazy. I don't know what's going on.
No, hey, this has been phenomenal. This has been great, Mike. We greatly appreciate you taking this time, spending this time on this lovely Sunday with us, and talking some phenomenal boxing, some updates, some insights on everything that's going on that you got going on in your world, man. And always, you're always welcome here. We definitely appreciate you. Any shout outs, thank yous, anybody that you want to just put out there into the airwaves?
Well, may you live in interesting times, they say, right? And it certainly is currently. So I appreciate you guys giving me the outlet, and I'll come back anytime and give you guys updates. Appreciate your passion and love for the amateurs and support of it. Bob Arum once said to us, he says, boxing goes as USA Boxing goes. And we are the feeder system. We are the only minor leagues. We govern boxing from 8 years old all the way through the Olympics. There's no high school support. There's no, we have collegiate associations, but that's not where boxing is. Boxers are created. They're created in the grassroots in the gyms of America. So, for shout outs, it's every coach in America. This is why I do it. This is where I find my inspiration, my redemption, to give them that outlet so that they can show off what they do and give them their redemption. So they get payback on what they've invested every night in America. So, I implore everybody, support your local gym. When I first showed up in a gym in Houston, it was Kenny Weldon's gym. He was in my neighborhood. And he said, make this your second home. Come by anytime. Sit down over here. And I was welcomed in open arms. So, don't think it's an intimidating thing. If you go to a local gym and there's a trainer there, they're going to welcome you with open arms. They're going to want to show you the program, support it. Like you said, hotels are expensive. Those trips cost a lot of money. Maybe $50 or $100 will help them get to a tournament and help some kid achieve his dreams and win a national title. So shout out to every single coach that dedicates their nights, and shout out to every official that trains all week on our online platform and then works on the Saturdays in the local shows. So keeping boxing alive and beautiful.
Hey, much love to all of them. Shout out, man. Hey, Tiff, any last words you got? For anybody, listeners, anybody you want to thank, anybody at all.
Thank you to Mike Campbell. Thank you to Standard 8 Podcast. Thank you to Inside the Ropes Boxing and Lukey Podcast. I want to shout out Kevin Benford, Real Deal Boxing, Cincinnati Golden Gloves, Millville Boxing, local boxing club, all those guys there, the Boxing Voice, Fight Hype. These are guys that I know that helped me and supported me throughout my boxing career and everything that I've done in the boxing community. I don't know if you guys know Fight Hype. Ben is my neighbor. He lives down the street from me. So shout out to him. And of course, Ohio Runs Boxing. I got to shout out Marcus Nall. I hope he's watching, but I love that guy, and he keeps everything up on the up and up for everybody. And of course, all my up and coming fighters that I love out of Real Dope Boxing. Shout out to AB. He got something coming up. Rashid Warren. I don't know if you guys noticed, Devin Alexander is down in the hub. He's getting ready to fight. He's in Cincinnati right now. So we got a lot of good boxers. And anytime we have a Cincinnati Golden Gloves event, they all come out. So I love the Cincinnati boxing community. And so thank you to all those guys there and Wyatt Promotions. Thank you to all those guys over there.
Tiff, add Mike Stafford, Coach Mike Stafford to that list, a great Cincinnati coach.
Stafford, love Mike Stafford.
Yeah.
And on your mentorship side on the officials, you got Rachel Harris, right? And Lonnie, who
I
are
love Lonnie Scott.
who are,
Yeah, I
hi,
love
Scott,
Lonnie.
who are some of our head officials down there that's going to be mentoring you and bringing you up to level 1.
Yeah, he don't want to make me be the timekeeper. Thank you, Lonnie.
It's time to take your seat.
He was like, "You'll be okay. I'll sit right here." I'm like, "Oh my god." I just thought I was gonna be the clerk. I was like, "Can I just take tickets?" He was like, "No."
No. Oh man, well definitely shout out to Lonnie for that. Gotta love it. Hey, we absolutely appreciate you joining us as well. As always, Tiff, you already know that this is our place is your place on this one. We love having you on and enjoy it every single time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Courtney. Oh, Mike, what you got?
No, I want to say I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys having me on and give me the outlet and hopefully we'll be down in Tiffany, your neck of the woods here pretty soon. Of course, we'll be in Toledo, but I love doing things in Ohio. I want to get something. I want to get something in Louisville, another
There we
boxing
go.
capital of the country.
There we
So
go.
hopefully we'll be down there. So show off your grassroots down there, all the gyms you mentioned.
Absolutely. Courtney, what you got, man? Send us out.
Hey, well, obviously, thank you, Mike. Thank you, First Lady Tiffany Daniels, and thank you so much for gracing the airwaves with us. This was definitely a special one. I love the episodes like this, man. These are the tear jerking, what I'm saying, the heartwarming ones, man. I love to get up here and talk that smack, but I love doing this too, because it just it plants seeds for the growth, and the continued growth of the sport that we all love. So definitely thank you for being here, and sharing something special with us. And I go through the shout outs at the end of every episode. Hey, it seems like there's 1,000,001 people in the world I could thank. But I want to particularly focus my shout outs to conclude this episode to Eddie Sanchez, out there, in the Central Valley, and an extended shout out to everybody in Cochrane, in Hanford, and everybody in Fresno, in this California Central Valley. All those Eddie Sanchez fans that in turn became our fans, as Eddie Sanchez just opened the doors to us and just graced us, not only with appearances on the show, but just basically just let us follow his journey, from top rated regional amateur to the pro game, and that was special. And that pretty much that kicked us off. That made us, and so particularly special shout out to Eddie Sanchez, and by extension his longtime trainer Jason Gillespie.
Yeah.
Thank you guys, and and the last one, I'm gonna shout out my arch enemy, Antoine Wilkes, doing his thing out in Boston.
Yeah.
Along the lines of the mantra, a gloves up, guns down. What he's doing out there for the kids in boxing, is particularly the Roxbury section of Boston. That's special. That's inspiring. And Antoine, we love you, man. And we just love how you grew up, man. From the wannabe boxing pundit, talking shit on the boxing boards and the boxing groups, to just really getting your grown man on, and just changing lives, man, and shaping the community out there in Roxbury, Boston, MA, Massachusetts. Hey, we love you, and we support you, and just keep doing your thing, man.
Hey, much appreciated, man. And then as always, all of our listeners, followers, shout out to Aaron Sorial, Michael Gomes. Hey, we miss y'all as always. This has been episode 89 of the Standing 8 podcast. Special guests, Tiffany Daniels and Mike Campbell. Hey, until next time, we out.